What's going on, guys, and welcome to Who to Sign For. Now in this series I'm giving you my recommendations on what players to sign for a specific team in career mode. Before we go on, I will say that the signings you'll see aren't designed to be realistic, and the player ratings and potentials of the players may vary depending on what database you're using and how they perform for you during the season. Obviously, you don't have to follow all the tips. This is really just a set of guidelines to give you a hand if you're stuck for ideas and want some suggestions on what players you can sign for a certain club. This is mainly aimed at those of you out there who may be new to the game and just need a little bit of advice, or for those of you out there who want a few recommendations on what players to sign for a team that you may be using in career mode this year. So yes, in today's episode of Who to Sign For, guys, as we continue the trend of the championship promotion teams, we're going to take a look at the runners up in the championship this year and who are heading back to the Premier League. Yep, AFC Bournemouth under Scott Parker are back in the big time for next season, and there'll be Premier League football at the Vitality Stadium once again. Now Bournemouth are a really good championship side, and there's no doubt about it, in the first season the objectives are not a surprise. Now the cup objective is very strong. Reached the last 16 of the FA Cup. As we know this year, one of the big shocks in FA Cup history, in recent history I should say, Boreham Wood knocked out Bournemouth, the non-league side, on their way through in the FA Cup. So they failed to do that in the real life season, finished last 16, and they also failed to win the title as well. Fulham were champions this year and Bournemouth finished runners-up. But when you look at the team, it is one of the strongest in the second tier of England. It is one of the top three teams in the championship, and there's no doubt about it. The board are going to want silverware come the end of the year. Having said that, I would say in the first season, if you don't win a title but you go up runners-up, that's good enough. Like, you know, I always find in the championship, and listen, maybe those the fans of clubs that have won it might possibly disagree with me here, but I've always found if you win the championship, amazing. But if you finish runners-up, amazing. You know, like, you're both getting the same joy, and the main joy is promotion. Of course, winning the title is better, but they're still both really good things. You know, you're both going up to the Premier League, and that was what is the grand prize, you know. But even so, Bournemouth runners-up this year. They're heading back to the Premier League, and they'll be top-tier football Vitality once again. And again, it's a really good team, and it's a really good young team as well. You'll notice with Bournemouth, there's a really good amount of decent young talent here. You might not have many players that are in like the high 80s for potential, if you will, but what you've got are players that are going to be really good for at least squad players for Premier League clubs as the years go by, and that's of course what you'll want as well when you're doing a long-term future with Bournemouth. So the players are given new contracts to are Anthony Morgan Rogers, who's actually on loan from Manchester City, but in the game he's your player, so definitely don't let this guy go. He's got the highest potential in the team with 84. Jordan Zamora, who's a young left back who came through the Bournemouth Academy, the Zimbabwean. I'd give him a new deal as well. He's not got much potential, but here at Bournemouth you only got one left back who's yours. The other is currently on loan from Leeds, so definitely give him a new deal as your backup left back, so I would recommend signing a new one. Of course, don't let this guy go. Dominic Solanke, second highest scorer in the championship this year with, I believe, 29 goals. Second highest scorer regardless, behind Alexander Mitrovic, and also this guy as well. Can we just say very briefly how great it is, and the footballing world's been with him ever since he revealed the diagnosis. At the start of the month, David Brooks announced he is cancer-free. David, everyone connected with Bournemouth and everyone in the football world has been supporting you since the diagnosis was revealed. Love him very much, and how great it is to know he's now cancer-free. Fantastic news. His deal's up come the end of the year. I would recommend giving him a new contract as well. Great, young, talented winger. So, as you can see with Bournemouth, I'll put three players on a transfer list. They are the former England international, the former Chelsea man Gareth Cahill, Adam Smith, and also Robbie Brady as well. Now, what you'll see is that Cahill and Brady are new signings for this season. I actually believe Brady came in January, I think. Cahill, though, was signed at the start of the season, but they're both in their 30s, and they're both going to decline very quickly. Sell them. Get them out of the club. If you can't sell them, then swap them. I really do recommend with Bournemouth, you've got to focus on young talent. You know, the team's got a great amount of young talent. Continue the trend. You don't want those pros, so you don't want those experienced players. Maybe they're good in Football Manager or in real life too, but not in FIFA career mode. They'll decline rapidly and be, I wouldn't say effectively useless midway through the season, but nowhere near as good as their starting overalls now. Brady, for example, isn't even a first team player for this team, at least in terms of rating, I should say. But we sold Junior Stanislas to Sassuolo. I wouldn't be against selling him either. I didn't put him on the transfer list. Bournemouth do have an abundance of wingers though, so you can afford to sell him if you want. We sold him to Sassuolo and also sold Adam Smith as well. And I would recommend a new right back. Now, you do have Jack Stacey, who's a decent young fullback, and you've got Ethan Laird on loan from Manchester United as well. But I would look at signing a good young talent in his early 20s or teens. He's got a good enough starting overall to be a first team starter and also has a lot of potential as well. My number one target, this guy, a Championship Division rival for Sheffield United, Jayden Bogle. You can get this guy for around £6.5 million, and the former Ram is a really good young attack-minded right back. He starts off 73 rated, but he's only 20 years old, so whilst he is a rating lower than Adam Smith, he's basically a whole decade younger. He's a really decent talent. He's got 82 potential, and again, you know, the signings you'll probably look to make with Bournemouth, they're not going to have like ridiculous potential where they can push towards 90, but they're going to be more than good enough in the first season for the Championship. They're going to grow and get even better in the first few years, and they're going to become really good squad players for you when eventually during this RTG you're pushing for European places when you're in the top tier. Jayden Bogle is the same rating as Jack Stacey, so you're not taking a step down there. Yes, he's a rating lower than Adam Smith, but come the end of the season he'll be higher rated. He's a really great young wing back and I definitely recommend him. And on the other side of the pitch, I would recommend a new left back as well. We did of course extend the contract to the young Zimbabwean, but he's the only registered left back you've got here. The other is on loan from Leeds. You'll want to sign someone with really good potential for the future, and there aren't many better in the game than this guy right here. I'm sure you know all about him. It's Aaron Hickey of Bologna. Yet moving on from Hearts to the Serie A, he's really made a name for himself in Italian football, and you'll see the deal we arranged here was really good. He's valued at over £6 million, but due to including a sell-on clause and giving Bologna Robbie Brady, we're able to negotiate a £5.8 million deal plus the sell-on clause and Brady getting included as well. Again, Robbie Brady, you know, when you look at the abundance of wingers here with Bournemouth, he's a good squad winger to have, but in his 30s and lower rated than the likes of David Brooks and Morgan Rogers and so on. Yeah, I would sell. Or if I can't sell, I would swap in the first season and look to soften transfer fees like we did here with Aaron Hickey. 5.8 mil plus an aging Robbie Brady and a minor sell-on clause is a bargain. This guy's an amazing young wing-back in the game. Scotland just know how to produce great young left-backs, don't they? But really great young talented left-back. Now, he's a right-footed player, which I really like because it does mean you can play him on the right side if you prefer. With the 5-star weak foot, he's equally equipped at playing in his natural left-back role as well. He's got 85 potential, so in the first season he's your starting left back and he'll tie that down for all the years you're at the Vitality. To put it plainly, this guy will be a starting left back for all the years you're with the Cherries. The following signing I made was this guy right here. Now you would have seen, because the players' contracts are really low, we can extend our transfer budget with wage budget alteration, and I'd recommend bringing in this guy as a new centre half to replace Gary Cahill. It is Doki, Danilo Doki of Vitesse. This is a decent young centre half, 23 years old, 74 overall. I believe he's agreed to join Union Berlin for next season, but in the game you can still get him for a low transfer fee because his contract's up come the end of the year, and you don't need to put him on an astronomical wage either. He's a great young centre half and he'll go right in your first team. 74 overall means he's just as good as all the other centre halves you've got, and Bournemouth do have some really good centre backs here. Gary Cahill, the aging centre half, Chris Metham's there as well. You've got Kelly too. It's actually a really good, solid centre-back list you've got here with Bournemouth. But replacing Gary Cahill, an ageing centre-half, with someone who's over a decade younger, 12 years younger, and also the same overall as well. Yeah, I would definitely do it. He's 12 years younger. You know, I'd say they're quite a similar mould of player as well. And partnering Nat Phillips in the back line, he's only here on loan from Liverpool, so you want someone long-term, and Doki is that guy. With 80 potential, he can get a little bit better than that, but again, it's a great value for money bargain deal. And one of the final signings I'll make is this guy right here. With Vitesse, they have a couple of great young centre-halves that are their deals that come at the end of the year, but this guy is someone I wouldn't play as a centre-half. Now, I've signed him before, and I've talked about this guy before. He's a really interesting player in FIFA career mode. His name is Bazoa. He's been capped by the Netherlands a few times. He's a former Ajax player now at Vitesse. His deals are coming in the end of the year, which means you can get in front of the valuation. I think we spent around 5.75 mil plus an aging Gary Cahill, who we're not going to use anymore. And let me tell you, this guy, is an amazing, absolutely amazing, budget, versatile player, which is so crucial when you're playing in a league like the Championship with 46 games a season. Again, you can get him for under the valuation of 8.5 mil, but guys, this guy is one of my best tips for a versatile, young, bargain buy in FIFA career mode. 3-star, 4-star, high-low work rates, but he's listed as a centre-back. Now, with the defensive stats he's got, and the height, and the strength, he can be a centre-back, but in my opinion, this guy can play literally, and I mean literally anywhere. He can do anything. He could probably play fullback. He can play maybe not on the wing with the pace, but he could play up top with the finishing stats. He could play as a playmaker, a DM. In my opinion, in this Bournemouth team playing a 4-3-3, what I would do is drop Lewis Cook to the bench and retrain Bozoa to CM. I think that's where you'll get the best out of him because of his range of versatility. In a 4-3-3, you always want an energetic box-to-box player. Bozoa can definitely do that. So I'd retrain him to CM. Then I'd retrain the low work rate to high for defensive work rate, and you've got an amazing box-to-box. And guys, please wait till the end of the episode and see what happens to Bozoa when I change his position. It's incredible. No spoilers, but you'll want to see it. So the final signing I made with Bournemouth once the low season ticket money came in was a new third choice goalkeeper. Do be aware when you manage Bournemouth, you have Freddie Woodman on loan from Newcastle United. Having said that, there's a chance it'll get recalled midway through the season. The reason being is very simple. You got Mark Travers, who's basically just as good, and he's your goalkeeper. They've both got similar potential as well. If you start Travers ahead of Freddie Woodman and Woodman doesn't get much game time as your regular number one, then Newcastle will recall him in January. That means you'll only be left with one goalkeeper. So what you want to do is make sure you buy, if nothing else, just emergency cover the third choice goalkeeper. We signed James Trafford from Bolton. He's not a great goalkeeper to begin with. He's got 78 potential though, so he grows pretty nicely for the future as a squad goalkeeper. But again, that's really done for emergency cover because Newcastle might recall Freddie Woodman during the season. If they do that, you're left with just one goalkeeper in your squad in Mark Travers, and that is dicing with danger. So, with Bournemouth, as you can see, we only sold the two players for 6.3 mil because we did swap out Gary Cahill and Robbie Brady, the ageing players, and we signed 5 players for a whopping 22.87 mil. That's a lot for a Championship side. But you look at the players coming in here, Hickey, Bogle, Bozoa, Doki, they all go in the first team and they've all got 80 plus potential, and James Trafford is now in as emergency cover as well. So as per usual, we simulate the end of the season with Bournemouth and see if we could win the Championship League title and reach the last 16 of the FA Cup. And as you can see, well, as the season came to an end, I noticed we drew our final 2 games. But thankfully, it was enough for us to get promoted as runners-up. And it's so funny because how we not drew those final 2 games to Millwall, and I can't remember who the other team was, we probably would have won the Championship. In the end, it was the same top 2 as real life. Fulham, champions, Bournemouth, runners-up, and we do avoid the playoffs. So, technically, the league would be considered a failure because we didn't deliver the grand prize, but ultimately, I don't think Bournemouth fans will be too disappointed. Like I mentioned at the top of the episode here, correct me if I'm wrong, but the top 2 in the Championship both get the same prize, which is promotion to the Premier League. That's the main thing. Of course you want to go with the title, of course you want the silverware, but promotion's the main thing. So we did that second place, just like in real life. I think the Bournemouth fans would be okay with that. We're also knocked out in the third round, the Carabao Cup, but in the FA Cup, we actually had a really good run in the FA Cup. We knocked out Everton on a replay at Goodison in the FA Cup third round. And as you see, we went all the way to the last 16. We then made it through the last 32, taking out Preston at Deepdale. We made it through to the last 16. We beat Middlesbrough 3-2, so got to the quarterfinals of the FA Cup, only to lose to this year's beaten finalists, Thomas Tuchel's Chelsea. That's a great run. We went one round further than the board asked, reaching the quarterfinals, not the last 16. So we exceeded what Bournemouth did in real life in that objective, and we matched what they did in real life with a second place finish. Once again, you know, to me, the title would be amazing, of course, but runners up is just as good. You're still going to the Premier League. That's the most important thing. And we look at the changes we made with this team here. You will see in my squad here, Freddie Woodman was recalled midway through the season by the Magpies. That's because Travers was the starting goalkeeper. So again, you do want a third choice goalkeeper, and Trafford's a good budget buy to bring in. And yeah, guys, I said wait to see this. Oh my god. He's not a centre-back, man. He's not a centre-back. Bozoa, who we retrained to central mid, grew to 83 overall. Doki, his former teammate, grew 3 ratings to 77 overall, so he now becomes our highest rated centre-half there, replacing Gary Cahill. But, oh my god, as Bogle grew 5 to 78 overall, like I said, he'd be better than Adam Smith, even though he comes in lower rated than Smith. But goodness gracious, Vizoa, man. Like I said, this guy with his Ranger stats really can do anything. If you're looking for a versatile jack of all trades bargain buy, look at Vizoa. He's incredible. But again, to me, box to box CM, he's now got his high work rates. That's where he'll be his best. 83 overall. He jumped up 8 ratings in one season with the natural growth and the position change as well. Man is unreal in this year's FIFA career mode. Guys, there's a bargain buy. Like, just don't pass him up. He's incredible once you change his position, man. Centre half, he can do that. He can fill in there, but he's way better faced further forward. The proof's in the pudding right there, growing 8 ratings in one season alone. So there you go. I've got to say, Bournemouth, man, great team to do a FIFA career mode with. I'm sure a lot of people will use them next year when they're back in the Premier League. I'm definitely thinking about using Bournemouth as my main career mode team next year. But yeah, really fun team on the South Coast at the Vitality. Lots of decent young talent and a decent budget in the transfer budget in the Championship as well. Great team to use this one. They're a great RTG side, and I highly recommend them for a FIFA career mode this year or next. But that will end today's episode of Who to Sign For, guys. Big thank you. Fortunately, if you have enjoyed it, if you haven't, please drop a like. Much love to you all. Have a fantastic day. Sign Bazoa, and I'll see you for the next episode of Who to Sign For very soon.